Fake HOA cops arrest a 16-year-old black boy walking home. Didn't know his mom's the district attorney. The evening sun was dipping low, painting the quiet neighborhood in shades of gold and shadow. A teenager, backpack slung over one shoulder, walked home after basketball practice, sweat still cooling on his skin. The sidewalks were calm, porch lights beginning to flicker on, families settling in for dinner, but headlights suddenly cut across his path. Two men stepped out in uniforms that looked official enough to fool anyone, badges clipped to their belts, radios on their shoulders. They weren't real police. They were homeowners association's security, self-appointed enforcers emboldened by power they didn't legally have. They demanded answers, blocked his path, and when he dared to speak, they grabbed him. Nobody knew yet that this boy's mother was the most powerful prosecutor in the county, and she would not forgive what was about to unfold. The boy's life was simple, built on school, basketball, and the warmth of his mother's guidance. She was a single parent, but she was no ordinary mother. She was the district attorney, a woman who had spent decades standing up to gangs, drug lords, and corrupt officials. To her son, she was just mom. To the rest of the county, she was the sharpest legal mind in the courtroom. She had always told her boy the truth, that the world would see his skin before it saw his smile, that respect could be demanded, but prejudice would still follow him like a shadow. So she taught him how to move carefully, how to keep his hands visible, how to stay calm even when it felt unfair. That evening, he had stayed late at basketball practice, shooting free throws until the gym lights dimmed. His teammates had already gone home, and he slung his backpack over his shoulder, earbuds in, humming to the rhythm of his playlist as he headed down familiar streets. The neighborhood was quiet, manicured lawns and tidy houses lining the blocks. It was the kind of place his mom had worked tirelessly to move him into, hoping it would offer safety, opportunity, and peace. But peace is fragile when bias lurks behind closed doors. The rising action unfolded like a trap snapping shut. A black SUV slowed beside him, then rolled to a stop. Two men jumped out, puffed up authority in their posture, plastic badges glinting under the last rays of sunlight. "Where you headed?" one barked. The boy paused, pulling out one earbud, explaining calmly that he lived just a few blocks away. But the men's expressions hardened. They accused him of trespassing, claimed he fit the description of a vandal they were watching for. He laughed nervously, trying to de-escalate, but their voices only grew louder. When he tried to keep walking, one man grabbed his arm. The boy yanked back, insisting he hadn't done anything wrong. But in seconds, they shoved him against their SUV, twisting his wrists, pulling out plastic zip ties. His backpack fell to the curb, his phone clattering to the ground. Fear surged through his chest, not just from the rough hands on him, but from the realization that he was alone. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains. A few people walking dogs froze mid-step, and one or two passers-by pulled out their phones to record. But nobody intervened. His heart pounded. His mother's lessons echoed in his head. Stay calm. Speak clearly. Don't fight back. He tried, his voice trembling as he repeated his address. But the men didn't care. To them, he wasn't a boy. He was a threat. 16 years old, still wearing his basketball jersey beneath his hoodie, but in their eyes, guilty by default. Meanwhile, his mother was at home, stirring a pot of pasta sauce, waiting for him to walk through the door. When her phone buzzed, it wasn't his number. It was a neighbor. The words spilled out quickly. Her son was being restrained by security on the corner of Maple and Pine. Her blood ran cold. She dropped the spoon, grabbed her keys, and flew out the door. She had spent her career fighting for justice, but nothing prepared her for this moment, when justice was needed for her own child. The climax hit like lightning. She arrived to find her boy pressed against an SUV, wrists bound, tears streaking his cheeks. The men stood smug, one of them leaning casually as though proud of his arrest. A small crowd had gathered, phones raised, murmurs rippling. Then headlights cut through the dusk as her car screeched to a halt. She stepped out, heels clicking like hammers on pavement, her presence commanding silence. "Release him!" Her voice was sharp, unflinching. The men blinked, startled. She pulled her badge from her coat pocket. The real badge, not plastic, not fake authority. The crowd gasped. The boy lifted his head, hope flooding his eyes. The men stammered, insisting they were just doing their job. She cut them off cold. "You're impersonating officers. You've assaulted a minor, and you've done it in front of witnesses." Real police arrived within minutes, called by her office at her demand. This time, the cuffs clicked around the wrists of the fake cops. Their arrogance evaporated as they were shoved into the back of cruisers, their power stripped away in the very street they once patrolled like kings. The boy collapsed into his mother's arms, shaking but safe. She kissed his forehead, whispering that he was okay now, though inside her fury raged hotter than ever. The resolution spread beyond that street. The video filmed by bystanders went viral overnight. News outlets ran headlines, "Fake HOA cops, arrest black teen, didn't know his mom's the DA." Across the city, outrage surged. The district attorney held a press conference, standing beside her son, her voice steady but full of fire. She pressed charges not just for impersonation, but for false imprisonment, assault, and harassment. She vowed reforms, not just in her neighborhood, but county-wide, to ensure no other child would suffer the same humiliation. Her son, though scarred by the fear of that evening, learned something deeper. He saw the strength of his mother's fight, the power of truth, and the importance of never staying silent in the face of injustice. He understood that even living in a good neighborhood, wearing the right clothes, walking home at the right hour, prejudice could still strike. But he also learned that courage, his mother's courage, could strike back harder. The HOA's so-called security program was dismantled. Lawsuits followed. Communities across the state began questioning their own practices, inspired by the DA's unyielding stand. For her, it wasn't just about her son. It was about every black child whose innocence had been stolen by suspicion. If a 16-year-old boy can be arrested for walking home in the evening, what does that say about the system we live in? And if silence allows it, how many more children will pay the price? The next time you see injustice, no matter how small, no matter how official it looks, will you look away or will you step forward and say, "Not this time"?